convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell says his client is willing to testify in front of Congress. But there is a catch. So we want to bring in CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen. He's following this from Washington.
There are a couple, Reed. The first of which is that they want full immunity in front of this committee in case this testimony happens to unearth any new developments that could potentially be incriminating for Miss Maxwell. In a letter that was sent to Congressman James Comer, who heads the Republican-led Oversight Committee, which subpoenaed Maxwell last week, Attorney David Marcus, who represents Maxwell, said that they want immunity first. They'd like to see any kind of questions that are asked of her ahead of time because of, quote, torturous conditions and an unconstitutional detention is what they've been arguing. They also say that any conversations would also likely need to happen after Maxwell's SCOTUS appeal is finalized. That is not going to happen for a number of months, likely until potentially late this fall or the end of this year. And in addition to that, Reed, they also don't rule out the possibility of testimony earlier if President Trump commutes Maxwell's sentence or potentially pardons her, saying that, of course, under those circumstances, they would be willing to kind of leave what we just discussed aside and come to the table earlier. This deposition was supposed to happen on August 11th, and it looks increasingly likely that that is not going to happen.
All right, and I'm also reading, they're saying Miss Maxwell did not receive a fair trial. How are they making that argument?
That's right. In the initial trial for Maxwell, there was a conversation under Jeffrey Epstein's first plea agreement in which he made with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Florida, in which attorneys in that office who led that investigation promised Epstein in 2007, when he came to that agreement, that no co-conspirators would be charged if he accepted that deal, which he did. However, a separate investigation was started in the Southern District of New York in New York City, in which the charges against Epstein later obviously resulting in his incarceration and then suicide, and Maxwell's now guilty conviction and now prison sentence. They argue that because that promise was made in Florida by a U.S. attorney, it should have applied to the new investigation, and where that resulted in Maxwell's conviction. Certainly there was some buy-in from a judge upon appeal, and the Supreme Court is going to have to sort out whether it is the case that it is possible that promises like that are actually, more than just a handshake agreement that the government can pull back on, or a binding agreement that should have applied to Maxwell and her.
Yeah, I'm reading these words from Maxwell's attorney. Criticisms that she failed to testify at trial ignore the reality. He says she was at the trial physically and mentally broke, denied most basic conditions needed to meaningfully defend herself and give evidence. This one's far from over. Jake Rosen, good to talk to my friend.